Today's lecture I will discuss active and reactive power transfer over the transmission line, where we will derive the expressions for the active and reactive power over the transmission line in terms of sending end and receiving end voltage magnitudes, phase angle and ABCD parameters of the line. For this derivation, let us consider two-port representations of the line as shown in the figure below. In that figure, the sending end voltage and current are related to receiving end voltage and current through ABCD parameters of the line. Now, depending upon the type of the line, that is whether it is a short line, medium line or a long line, the value of the ABCD parameter will vary. Equation 5.5 shows the relation of sending end voltage in terms of ABCD parameters and receiving end voltage and receiving end current. Similarly, equation number 5.6 gives sending end current in terms of the ABCD parameters as well as receiving end quantities voltage and current. Equation 5.5 and equation 5.6 are represented as in matrix form as equation 5.7. Now you need to understand first that this is a figure which shows the transmission line with only the inductance term. Figure shows the power network. In that power network, the line is represented only by the series inductive reactance. ER angle 0, that means ER is a receiving end voltage and it is considered as a reference phasor, so its angle is considered to be 0. Similarly, the sending end voltage is represented as ES angle delta. Now in phasor diagram you have understood that this ES angle delta means that sending end voltage will lead the receiving end voltage by an angle delta. This is sending end power, sending end complex power, that is real power plus reactive power. Similarly, this is a SR is equal to PR plus JQR, that means receiving and active power and receiving and reactive power. I is the current flowing through the transmission line, and this value of the current flowing through the transmission line depends on the load. Now my objective is to represent all the quantities of equation 5.5 in terms of the polar form. So represent this VR, representing this receiving end voltage in polar form, that means this is a VR magnitude, the magnitude of that voltage is VR and its angle is 0. Similarly, this is a representation of sending end voltage in polar form. Now these are the representation of ABCD parameters in polar form. Now there may be the question in your mind that how this mode A, magnitude A and angle theta A comes. Then you need to look at these expressions of ABCD parameter. Let us consider the ABCD parameters of the pi model, and you know that recall these equations for the pi model representations of the transmission line. The A value is given by this. So Z is a complex quantity and Y is also the complex quantity. When I solve these expressions for the term A, then this term will have some magnitude and it will have some angle. So magnitude A is nothing but the magnitude which is derived from this term, and angle theta A is nothing but the angle of this term. Similarly, B is equal to magnitude B and angle theta B, which is derived from this. Similarly, magnitude C and magnitude D, as well as the angle theta C and angle theta D. I think you need to correct it. This is not theta B, it is theta C, and this is theta D. Okay. Now from this equation number 5.5 you can find out the IR. So IR is nothing but this IR in equation number 5.5. IR is equal to Vs angle delta minus A angle theta A VR angle 0 divided by B into theta B. Again, simplify the equations of the receiving end current. Finally, you will get the receiving end current in polar notation, and it is given in 5.81. Now, with this value of the current, receiving end current IR, you can now easily find out the receiving end complex power. Receiving end complex power is given by SR 3 phase. That means this is a total 3 phase power. This is a total 3 phase power received at the receiving end. So this 3 phase power received at the receiving end, this is the active power received at the receiving end. Similarly, this is a reactive power received at the receiving end. It is given by 3 VR IR conjugate, where remember that this VR is a phase voltage and IR we already found in a previous slide, and I have also written the expressions of the IR. So when I put this IR conjugate, then simply you can change this IR conjugate. This is angles are changed. That this delta minus theta B is now represented by theta B minus delta in my conjugate expressions. Right. So when I put these expressions of the 3VR IR conjugate in terms of the polar form, then I will get the expressions of the receiving end complex power, So it will be 3 into VSVR divided by B, an angle theta B minus delta, minus 3 A into VR square divided by B, an angle is theta B minus theta A. Now in these expressions, all the voltage values are phase values. Now if I break this term, this 3 is represented by root 3 into root 3, and what will happen? This is root 3 Vs and root 3 Vr, root 3 Vs and root 3 Vr. So root 3 Vs and root 3 Vr, that means I will get the line quantity. Phase quantities will be converted to the line quantities. So receiving end 3 phase power in terms of the line quantities can be represented by these expressions. So you need to understand this, you need to understand the difference between these two. This is both are the receiving end complex power, but the upper equation is in terms of the phase voltages, whereas lower equation, this equation is in terms of the line voltages. That is only the difference. Now you also know that the relation, this is my relations, and angle angle theta B minus delta can be represented as cos delta B minus theta B minus delta, and sine theta B minus delta. So when I use this term, when I expand this term in terms of the real and imaginary part, this polar form converted to the real and imaginary part, I can separate it out, the real terms and the imaginary terms of these whole equations. When I group this real part at one side and imaginary part on another side, I can separate out the 3 phase power received at the receiving end and 3 phase reactive power received at receiving end. So you need to remember these two equations. These two equations are very important equations. By these equations you can find out the value of the active and reactive power received at the receiving end. Now recalling this again, this same expressions of the receiving end powers, just I have rewritten these two equations for explanations. In these expressions, it is very important to observe one relation. This is in this expression what I am assuming, that if I put theta B is equal to delta, that means theta B is equal to delta, then what I will get, this term will be 1, this term will be 1. So after considering that, if theta B is equal to delta, then I will get the power value which is a maximum power which can be received at the receiving end. but there is a specific condition. These conditions will be arrived. The receiving end will get the maximum power only and only when theta b is equal to delta. When theta b is equal to delta. Now you need to understand that what is theta b and delta. Theta b is nothing but the angle of the b parameter. Angle of b parameter, and b parameter is nothing but z. So this will be z, and this is theta b. And if I assume that r is equal to 0 in this expression, r is equal to 0, then theta b will be equal to 90 degree. So when this delta will become 90 degree, then and then the power at the receiving end becomes maximum power. Now this delta is equal to, delta is the phase angle of the voltage at the sending end. So this is the expressions of, this is a expression of this PR max is the expression of maximum power received at the receiving end. But there is a conditions. When this condition will occur, this condition of maximum power will occur only and only when theta b is equal to delta. Or you can say that when delta becomes equal to theta b. Why I am putting it that delta is equal to theta b? Because theta b is a constant. That theta b is a constant value. Once we make the line, that impedance of the line is fixed. So theta b is fixed, but this delta is not fixed. This delta, you know that in my last lectures also I have mentioned that how this delta depends. That delta, when the line is operating on no load, the delta is equal to 0. But as we keep on increasing the load on line, then delta will start increasing. So delta will vary from 0 degree to the 90 degree. 0 that means no load condition, and 90 that means very stressed conditions. So when we keep on stressing the system, then delta will keep on changing. That delta will keep on changing from 0 degree towards the 90 degree. Once it becomes that delta will become equal to theta b, the condition will reach where the receiving end will receive maximum power. So this is the expressions of the maximum power you need to remember. So in that similarly, with the conditions of theta b is equal to delta, when I observe this condition in reactive power expressions, then this is a reactive power with a condition of PR max can be written in this, can be found out with these expressions. It means that the load must draw this much of the reactive power in order to receive the maximum real power. That means here this is a load is connected. This is considered as a load. So this load will receive the maximum power PR max only on it can receive maximum power only and only if this load is capable to draw this much of the reactive power. If the load is not capable to receive this much of the reactive power, then the receiving of this much of maximum real power is not possible. In the same line, uh, uh, so far we have discussed we have derived the expressions of the PR and QR, and as well as the PR max, and what will be the reactive power under the conditions of the PR max. Now it's turn to find out the sending end powers. So sending end powers, this is my equations of sending end power in terms of the three phase. So PS plus JQS is given by 3 VS IS conjugate. Again, this VS is a phase voltage. IS can be found out by this, that we can just by these expressions we can you can convert the expressions of the IS in polar form. You can convert the expressions in polar form, right? Now you can see in uh, this IS expression in terms of the receiving end voltage as well as the receiving end current. So I will use the previous equations of the receiving end current in terms of the only the voltages, so that I can find out this sending sending end current in terms of only the voltages and the parameters of the line. Again, using this relation of 3Vs Is conjugate, put the expressions of the in terms of the polar form, I can get the sending end real power and sending end reactive power. So once you get these values, you can easily find out the real and reactive transmission line losses. Real and reactive transmission line losses. The real losses occurs in a transmission line is nothing but whatever the power we inject in the sending end and whatever the power we inject at the whatever the power we get from the receiving end. That means the difference between the sending end power and the receiving end power is nothing but the loss occurs in the transmission line, because you know that whatever the power we inject in this is the PS, the same power will not come out from this. So whatever the difference between this PS and PR is nothing but the real power losses in the system. Now if you can see here for this line, the real power loss is zero. Why it is zero? Because we have assumed that this line R is equal to 0. If R is equal to 0, then there will not be any real power losses. So in that case, the real power losses in this transmission line is 0. That means whatever the power we will inject in this, line, the same power I will receive from the receiving end. That means efficiency of the transmission line will be 100%. It is not perfectly true because we cannot make a line with R is equal to 0 value. There is some value of the R, but that value of the R is small as compared to X. That's why for the computational, for reducing the computational efforts, we have assumed that R is equal to 0. Similarly, we can get the expressions of the reactive power line or reactive loss in a transmission line. That is a QS minus QR. That means whatever the sending end reactive power, difference between sending end reactive power and receiving end reactive power. So in that way you can find out the real and reactive power losses in a transmission. We will discuss a very special case of the short transmission line. In short transmission line, recall the ABCD parameter of the short transmission line. So in short transmission line, we derived the ABCD parameter. For the short transmission line, A is equal to 1 and D is also equal to 1. So in case of the short transmission line, A is equal to D is equal to 1. So it is purely a real number. So its angle is considered to be 0. So for short transmission line, magnitude of the magnitude D are equal and their angles theta A is equal to theta D is equal to 0 degree. Here I need to correct it. This is theta D. This is theta D. Right. And for short transmission line, B is equal to Z. So magnitude is equal to Z, and its angle I consider, instead of theta B, I consider it is only theta, because in this only one angle, so I am representing it as a theta only. And for the short transmission line, C is equal to 0. So I will put these values in equation number 5.85 and 5.86, that is PR and QR equations. So what I will get these expressions of receiving and reactive power and receiving and real power and receiving and reactive power with for the short transmission line. Again I have rewritten that expressions. So in this expression again I will make one more assumption, that Z is equal to R plus JX, but in order to have the higher efficiency, as I told earlier, if R value is 0, then efficiency is 100%. So my objective is to keep R value as small as possible. So if R is neglected, then Z is equal to, magnitude of the Z is equal to approximately equal to X. and theta will be approximately, this will be approximately 90 degree. When I put these two values, that z, this z is replaced by x and theta is replaced by 90, theta is replaced by 90 and this theta is replaced by 90, and what will happen, this cos 90 is equal to 0 and this cos 90 minus delta is equal to sin delta. So remember, this is approximate expression, this is a approximate expressions of the real power received at the receiving end for the short transmission line, for the short transmission line. Now, very important observations from these expressions, very important observations from these expressions. In these expressions you can see that this, the power, real power received at the receiving end is a function of Vs, Vr, x and sin delta. Now tell me, out of these four parameters, how many parameters are constant parameters and how many parameters are system dependent? So you can easily identify that x is a constant parameter because x is a reactance of a transmission line, and reactance of transmission line is fixed quantity. The reactance of the transmission line is fixed quantity, is constant. Now what about Vs and Vr? What about Vs and Vr? So this is sending end voltage magnitude and this is a receiving end voltage magnitude. And generally we want to operate the power system with constant voltage. We will not allow the voltage to deviate by larger magnitude, maximum plus or minus 5%. That means that I can reasonably assume this Vs and Vr constant. So in these equations, out of those four quantities, I can treat three quantities as constant quantities, whereas only this delta is a system dependent. As I told that when it is a no load condition, delta is equal to 0, and when we keep on stressing the system, delta will increase. So delta cannot be considered as a constant quantity. So I have written this, just I will read these sentences. So in that, for a given system operating, for a given system, for a given system operating at a constant voltage, that means Vs and Vr are considered as a constant voltage. The power transferred is proportional to the sine of the power angle because all these three quantities becomes constant. So real power received at the receiving end is only the function of sine delta, sine of the power angles delta. As the load increases, delta increases. For a lossless line, a maximum power that can be transmitted under stable steady state condition occurs for an angle 90 degree. For a lossless line, a maximum power that can be transmitted under stable steady state condition occurs for an angle of 90 degree. So in this figure I have shown this condition that delta is equal to 0, that means it is a no load conditions. Now as I keep on stressing the system, this delta is increasing, So when this delta becomes 90 degree, you can see that at delta is equal to 90 degree, your power will reach at the maximum level. This maximum power is called maximum power or a steady state stability limit of the system. Beyond that, if you stress your system beyond this 90 degree, then what will happen? Angle will increase, but your power will not increase. Delta, suppose this is 100 degree, your power will less than 1. So in a system, however, a transmission system with its connected synchronous machines must also be able to withstand, without loss of stability, sudden changes in generation, load and faults. To ensure an adequate margin of the stability, the practical operating load angle is usually limited to 35 to 45 degree. You can see here, if I consider the 30% of the stability margin, that means this is my 100% and this is my 70%. That means 30-degree margin I am keeping. That means with 30-degree power margin, I reach to power curve at this point. Corresponding to this point, the angle is 44. That means if I want to keep the 30-degree margin, then I cannot operate my system beyond 44 degree. If I reduce the stability margin to 20%, then I can stress the system beyond 44 degree, but it is not advisable to stress the system as close as to its maximum steady state stability limit. So generally we will keep the stability margin. If we increase the stability margin, suppose let us say this is a 50% stability margin, that means this is a 0.5, and related to that 0.5, if I want to maintain the 50% stability margin, then I should not stress above 30 degree. So this is the condition that how much stability margin you want to keep. Based on that you can stress your system, but it is generally advisable to operate the system with a low value of the load angle, So this is very key, very important point you need to remember from this. The real power is a function of sine delta, and delta depends on the load. As the load change, delta change, and so that the power will also change. Same expressions for the similar expressions for the reactive power. Reactive power, I am putting these values that theta is equal to 90 degree. Theta is equal to 90 degree. I can reduce it to these expressions. So in this expression, the delta, as I told that for the stability margin or for the security margin, you need to operate your system with low value of the delta, as small as possible. So if I consider that the delta value is small, generally, though I told you that the delta will be 44 degree or 35 degree, but in a real interconnected power system, if you see it, then this delta, it is not advisable to stress the systems beyond 8 degree or 10 degree, very low value, or even less than 8 degree or 10 degree for interconnected power systems. So delta is considered to be very small. If delta is considered is very small, then cos delta is considered as 1. When I make this approximation in this, then this equation is turned to this one. So Vs minus the difference between Vs minus Vr, it is considered as a delta V. Then very important observations you can get from here, that reactive power received at the receiving end, is a function of the function of receiving end voltage, the reactance of the line, and voltage difference between sending end voltage and receiving end voltage. So from this expression you can see that if you want to increase the reactive power received at the receiving end, then this drop should be increased. Again I am repeating, if you want more power at the receiving end, more reactive power at the receiving end, that means this delta V should be increased. That means you need to increase the difference between these two. That means if you want to receive more power, then with constant value of the sending end, your receiving end voltage must drop. Again I am repeating, considering the sending end voltage constant, if you want to receive more reactive power at the receiving end, only way that you need to sacrifice the receiving end voltage. That means in an attempt to receive the more reactive power, you are sacrificing the receiving end voltages. Otherwise you cannot increase the reactive power. Only the alternative is that if you do not want to sacrifice the receiving end voltage, then you need to adopt certain shunt compensation techniques that I will discuss it later on. So from these two equations, now it's time to summarize the things, and you need to always remember this. This is very important throughout all the power system courses in next semesters, in the upcoming semesters. Very important to understand, and you need to remember it. So for R is equal to 0, that means we assume that the line is predominantly reactive and R value is assumed to be very small. So R is approximately equal to 0, and this is a valid approximation for the transmission line. The real power transferred to the receiving end is proportional to sine delta, or approximately delta, because sine delta is very small, so sine delta will be approximately equal to delta, while the reactive power is proportional to the magnitude of the voltage drop across the line. So this reactive power is proportional to the voltage drop across the line. Second observation, the real power received is maximum for delta is equal to 90 degree and has a value of VSVR divided by X. So this value, this is a maximum power which occurs at delta is equal to 90 degree. This is also called the steady state stability limit of the power system. Of course, the delta is restricted to the value well below 90 degree from the consideration of stability to be discussed in chapter 12. At chapter 12, that I have taken this from the book of Nagraj Kothari. Chapter 12 is a chapter of power system stability. But I need to correct this sentence, that we cannot. This is steady state stability limit at with delta is equal to 90 degree is purely a theoretical case. As I told earlier, we cannot stress our system beyond delta is equal to 8 to 10 degree. It is not advisable to stress the system beyond 8 to 10 degree. Okay, so these conditions related to delta is equal to 90 degree is purely a theoretical case. This is the most important. Maximum real power transferred for a given line with fixed value of the reactance. Again, I am repeating, maximum real power transferred for a given line. Maximum real power transferred for a given line can be increased by raising its voltage level. You can see here, or in my first lectures in a class, I told you, if you remember that, I asked you to tabulate the transmission voltage levels. That you started this initial that single phase voltage, that 230 volts, then three phase voltage is 440 volts, then it comes to the 11 kV, then 33 kV, 66 kV, then 132 kV, 220 kV, 400 kV, 765 kV. That means the power system engineers tries to raise the voltage level. So you now understand here why they want to raise the voltage level. So that relations you can directly get from these expressions, because the power transferred or power received at the receiving end is a function of a product of these voltages. That power is proportional to the square of the voltages, proportional to the square of the voltages. So if you increase the voltage level, then you are increasing the power transfer capability. You are increasing the power transfer level, not capability, power transfer level across the transmission line, because the real power transfer across the line is proportional to the square of the voltage. So the power system engineers made the effort to raise the voltage as much as possible. So this is the reason that voltage levels are being progressively pushed up to transmit the larger chunks of the power over longer distances warranted by the large size generating stations. Now, for very long lines, this voltage level cannot be raised beyond the limits placed by the present day high voltage technologies. Because when you raise the voltage to the 765 kV, that means you need to design the transmission tower such that similarly the potential gradient occurs across the conductors is also very high. But the major thing is that this you need to insulate the lines. That insulators must withstand the 765 kV. Not only the 765 kV, but when not only the case of the insulator, but all the accessories, that is the transformers, the MVA rating of the transformer will increase. The associated circuit breakers, that all these protective equipments ratings, everything will go high, everything will go high. Now again, if we increase these voltage levels very high, then power transfer limits are also very high, and the fault levels will also go very high. So in that case, that switching surges generated in that case is also very high. So switching surges are very predominant as compared to lightning surges in case of the uh, very heavy transmission lines, extra high voltage transmission line or ultra high voltage transmission lines, so that pushing the voltage levels to the higher level, pushing the voltage levels uh, is very much restricted by these high voltage technologies. So if it is constrained, this power transfer is constrained by these high voltage technology limitations, then what can be the other means, or what can be the other ways to increase the power transfer? So in these expressions you can see, if we have the restrictions for this voltage to voltage to, if we have a restriction to increase the voltage levels beyond certain level, beyond certain points, that means 765 kV at present, the present technology, then what else we can do to increase the power transfer? That only way is, you need to concentrate on these reactance. You need to concentrate on these reactance. Now as I told, X is the line reactance, and once you make the line, the X is constant. You cannot do anything with the line. So now uh, in a upcoming semesters you will be taught one new courses on flexible AC transmission system, where the line will be compensated with the series capacitors, So in the line uh, we will insert the series capacitors in order to reduce the X. So at present this X is only the predominantly inductive, that is XL. So if in series with this XL, if I add the series capacitors, then this X value will be XL minus XC. So depending upon the introductions of the XC, how much value of the XC we are connecting in series, based on that the net value of the reactance of the transmission line will go down. So if the net value of the reactance of transmission line go down, then obviously the real power is inversely proportional to the X. So by reducing the value of X, you can increase the real power transfer of the over the transmission line. There are also many advantages of using the series capacitors that I will not go into the detail of those, but at present just you remember that real power transfer over the transmission line is based on these four parameters. And if you want to control this real power transfer over the transmission line, you can control any of these four parameters. Now this is the expressions of the reactive power. This is the expressions of the reactive power. So as said in one above, that means, as said in one above means, that means that first observation that I have made in that previous slide. So as said in one above, the VAR delivered by a line is proportional to the line voltage drop, and it is independent of delta. This is very important observations. If you look at the reactive power expression, there is no delta. The delta is not there. So reactive power is not dependent on delta. That means whatever the load change, it will not make any impact on the reactive power. Reactive power will be affected only and only if this voltage drops is changed, if there will be any change in this voltage drop. So therefore, in a transmission system, if VAR demand of the load is large, the voltage profile at that point tends to sag rather sharply To maintain a desired voltage profile, the VAR demand of the load must be met locally by employing positive VAR generators or condensers. These points, I think in that lecture, that in my very first lectures in a classroom, also I have mentioned that generally what we are doing, suppose there is industry, and in industry, uh, if we compare the uh, bill pattern, that concept or billing pattern of the domestic consumer and the industrial consumer, then in domestic consumers, we paid the charge, we paid the bill only for the real power consumptions, because in our home, major our load is not that much of the inductive nature. But if you consider, we have the in home, in domestic, in our home also, we have some proportions of the reactive load. But as compared to the industries, most of the load in industries is having inductive nature. Then rebate will be given. A rebate will be given to the industrial consumer for minimizing that reactive power requirement. That means whatever the reactive power requirement by those motors at the industries, it is advised to the industry persons to have shunt capacitors at their industries, which can fulfill or which can compensate the reactive power demand of the motors. So this is the case, and that's why in this we have in this I have also mentioned that uh, load in this sentence I have mentioned that to maintain the desired voltage profile, the VAR demand of the load must be made locally by employing the positive VAR generators or the condensers. That means a VAR demand of the load must be met locally. That means the industry persons are are encouraged to employ the condensers or shunt capacitors at their premises or at that consumption point, which can supply their local demand of the reactive power, so that the reactive power demand of those industries should not be reflected back to the system. And for doing so, the utility will give benefit to the industry persons for maintaining the unity power factor. That means if I compensate my reactive power demand locally, that means my reactive power demand will not be reflected on a utility. That means I will operate my systems with unity power factor, and that's why there will not be any billing for the reactive power consumptions. So this is the major benefit that the industry people can take by minimizing the reactive power demand and not allowing the reactive power demand towards the system. Now we arrive at the last phase of this entire discussions. The factors influencing the transfer of active and reactive power. Majority of things I have already covered, but just quickly I am going in these slides. So you can see in this slide the figure, and now you are well aware about this figure. Okay, this is sending ends and this is receiving end. This is my simple phasor diagram. In this phasor diagram, R is ignored, and that's why that this IR drop is not accounted. IR drop is not accounted. Now this delta, you understand what is delta. You also understand what is this phi. Phi is the power factor angle of the load, and this load angle and delta is the load angle. Now you can understand, if this I increases, this J into I will increase, and that's why this delta will also increase. So very important to understand, this receiving end voltage is considered as a reference, and corresponding to as this load demand is increased, this phasor size will change, and that's why this delta will change. Similarly, if I is decreasing, then this phasor will the size of this phasor will be small, and that's why delta will be small. So you need to understand very clearly how the size of these phasors are changing. Only I am considering here this ER, that size of the ER is fixed, whereas all other phasors are are are, are all other phasors are dependent on the system conditions, right? Now uh, consider these two sources connected by inductive reactance. That means one source, this is my one generator, this is my one another machine which will be act as a motor, or two sources we are considering, right? A purely inductive reactance, that is R is ignored, only the pure inductive reactance we consider, and effect of the shunt capacitances do not appear explicitly. Now see the complex power at the receiving end. We already derived, just I am representing this in some another notations. So this is my PR and this is my QR, that we already see it here. Similarly, this is the expression of the PS and QS. Now this equation 6.79 to 6.82 describe the way in which the active and reactive power are transferred. All these equations I already discussed at length in the previous slides. So now let us examine the dependence of P and Q transfer on source voltages by considering separately the effects of differences in voltage magnitudes and angles. What we are going to discuss, what we are going to examine, we are going to examine the dependence of real power and reactive power transfer on source voltages by considering separately the effects of differences in voltage magnitudes and angles. But I will discuss that. We will consider total three. Now this is the case number one, where we consider that delta is equal to 0. Delta is equal to 0 means this delta, that phase angle of the sending end voltage, is also 0. In that condition, if I put delta is equal to 0 in this expression and this expression, what I will get? I will get the receiving end and sending end real power equal to 0. But with delta is equal to 0, let us examine that QR and QS. I will get this QR, this expression, and QS, these expressions. Now very interesting thing that you can observe from here. Now if this ES greater than ER, if this ES greater than ER, ES greater than ER, and what will happen? This QR is positive, this QR is positive, and this is also positive. Both are positive. QR and QS are positive. But with ES less than ER, that means if the voltage magnitude of the sending end is less than the voltage magnitude of the receiving end, then this QS and QR are negative. You can see in this figure, the transmission of the lagging current through an inductive reactance causes a drop in receiving end voltage. That means if in this line, if this load current, if the current flowing in this line is having the lagging nature, if it is having lagging nature, then what it will cause? If this current is having a lagging nature, then it causes a drop in receiving end voltage. So if this current is having lagging power factor, then this voltage ER will be less than ES, So you can observe it here. This is my receiving end reference voltage. If my current is having lagging power factor, that means this is my lagging 90-degree power factor angle. So the current lags behind ER by 90 degree. In that conditions, your ES will be high. In that condition, your sending end voltage will be high, and your receiving end voltage will be less than the sending end voltage by an amount of J into Ix. ER will be less by I into X. I into X, that means the voltage drop in a line. So you can see, if this size of this I is increasing, that means there will be more decrement in this ER. There will be more decrement in ER, because that I into X drop will be more. I into X drop will be more. In other words, also I can say, if you do not want to sacrifice this ER and size of the ER is constant, then with the increment in I and with the increment in this voltage drop, if you want to keep ER constant, then size of ER should be more. Size of the ER should be more. This also I discussed in my previous lectures. Similarly, this is my entire ER voltage, and if the current power factor angle or the current is having a leading power factor, then the current leads receiving end voltage by 90 degree. In that condition, that sending end voltage will be less as compared to receiving end voltage, and this phenomena also we observed in my previous lectures, that is a Faraday effect. So you know that this is delta is equal to 0, that means no load condition. Delta is equal to 0 means no load conditions. So in that conditions, no load conditions, you can see that the receiving end voltage is higher than sending end voltage, because the current flowing through the inductive reactance of the line is having a it is having a leading power factor, because it is a purely a charging current, and charging current, the impact of this charging current is to raise the receiving end voltage as compared to the sending end voltage. Similarly, we consider the another case where I will make that delta is not equal to 0, where I will consider that this delta is not equal to 0, but the voltage magnitudes are equal. That means delta, I consider this first case, delta greater than 0, that means it is non-zero value. The size of this phasor ES and size of the phasor that ER are same. Magnitude of the ES and ER are same. Okay, so in that condition you will get the real power expressions, and the real power at the receiving end and sending end is given by this, and reactive power at sending end will be exactly equal to the receiving end reactive power. So with delta positive, PS and PR are positive, that is active power flows from the sending end to the receiving end. Active power now starts flowing from sending end to the receiving end. As the delta value is greater than 0, suppose it is a 5 degree, the delta is equal to 5 degree means that the sending end voltage leads the receiving end voltage by 5 degree. So the active power will transfer from sending end to the receiving end. Now, very important observations, that when ES is equal to ER, when ES is equal to magnitude of the sending end voltage and magnitude of the receiving end voltage are same, then in that condition, in that case, there is no reactive power transferred from one end to the other end. Instead, each end supplies half of the Q consumed by X, and it is given by this. In that conditions, if the voltage magnitude at the sending end and voltage magnitude at the receiving end are same, suppose this is a 220 kV line, the 220 kV line at sending end it is a 220 kV, at receiving end it is also 220 kV. That means if the 220 kV is maintained at both the ends, that means the reactive power requirement of that line is 0. Reactive power requirement of that line is 0. That means these conditions will occur only and only when only in case of the surge impedance loading. That means voltage profile throughout the transmission line will be same, or we cannot say that this is a surge impedance loading, but if ES is equal to ER, that means there will not be exchange of the reactive power. That means the line will not consume any reactive power, or it will not generate any reactive power. Now this is general case applicable to any conditions. In that I have just represented that this E is equal to nothing but the difference of Es cos delta plus JES sin delta. That means this is a sending end voltage in terms of the polar form, and this is a receiving end voltage divided by Jx. This Qs minus Qr can be found out with this by in this triangle. You can easily visualize that how this expression turns to the I square x. So if in addition to X we consider the series resistance R of the network, and this this Qs minus Qr is nothing but the Q loss, and this Q loss is equal to X into I square. So X and I square is given by these expressions. Similarly, P loss is equal to R into I square, so R into I square, this is my I square. So the reactive power absorbed by the X for all condition is I square X. In previous condition also, that reactive power absorbed by the inductive reactance is given by I square X, and this leads to the concept of reactive power loss, a companion term to the active power loss. And an increase in reactive power transmitted across the line increases the active as well as the reactive power losses, and this has an impact on efficiency and the voltage regulation. So this is my last slide, and from this last slide, just this is a summary. The active power transferred is a function of the voltage magnitudes and the delta. This is voltage magnitudes and delta. However, for satisfactory operations of the power system, the voltage magnitudes at any bus cannot deviate significantly from the nominal value, and therefore the control of the active power is achieved primarily through the variation in angle delta. Reactive power transfer depends mainly on the voltage magnitudes. It is transmitted from side with higher voltage magnitudes to the side with lower voltage magnitudes. That means, suppose this is my ES and this is my ER. Let us say example, this is my 400 kV line, this is my 400 kV line, and the voltage at this point is, suppose that let us say this is 395 kV. So in that case, the reactive power will transfer from this end to this end, sending end to the receiving end. But if the condition is that, suppose this is my 400, and if by some means if I increase the voltage of this bus to 405, and in that case the reactive power will transfer from this end, receiving end, to the sending end. So transfer of the reactive power depends on the voltage magnitudes, and the transfer of the real power depends on this uh, angle values. Very clear, you need to remember this always. Active power will always transfer from higher angle to lower angle, whereas the reactive power will transfer from higher voltage magnitudes to lower voltage magnitudes. Again, the reactive power cannot be transmitted over long distances, since it would require the large voltage gradient to do so, because we know that the reactive power transfer is proportional to the voltage difference between sending end voltage and receiving end voltage. So if you want to transfer very large amount of the reactive power, you require a very larger voltage drop. Suppose larger voltage drop, that means what is the meaning? This is 400, and if you want to transfer more and more reactive power, that means this, to create the voltage drop, more voltage drop, the voltage at the receiving end should should reduce. And if this voltage at the receiving end will reduce, then obviously the voltage quality will be deteriorated. So we cannot allow it. So that reactive power cannot be transmitted over a long distances, since it would require a large voltage gradient to do so. An increase in reactive power transfer causes an increase in active as well as the reactive power losses. That means as we push that more and more reactive power over the transmission line, then it will increase the active loss as well as the reactive loss. So I hope that in this lecture you will understand the active and reactive power transfer over the transmission line, and I have made it very much clear that on which parameters the real power transfer depends, and on which parameters the reactive power transfer depends. So I you gone through you. I hope that these lectures will be useful to you for the understanding. Okay, the complete 1 hour is over now. So thank you.